What would you do if you had only one chance in your life to meet your greatest idol? This girl went through heaven and hell just to deliver a special message to Nami. There was even a wild argument to decide who the greatest swordsman in the world was, with Zoro blending into the crowd, keeping an eye on those crazy discussions. But the end of this episode was simply absolute cinema. The episode kicks off with a jaw-dropping new opening, showing everyone fighting in the Marineford War to stop Ace's execution. And of course, we get that legendary speech from Gol D. Roger. Wealth, fame, and power. If you want all that, just let me eat you. The streets were packed like the subway in Sao Paulo at 6 in the morning, and the poor girl was about to have a breakdown until she spotted a poster of Nami on the wall. She grabbed a puzzle piece and started writing a fan letter to Nami, saying she's a special pirate because nowadays the world is overrun by barbarians who rely on devil fruits and brute force. But Nami surpasses them all with brains and a whole lot of respect. The girl was already deep into her cat burglar cosplay when her mom busted in, telling her to get back to making deliveries. But she wasn't about that postman life and decided to embark on the greatest adventure of her life. Her mom wasn't about to let her go, saying the girl should get a real job. But before the mom could pull out the work contract, the girl pulled a fast one and slid right under her legs. Meanwhile, over at the greatest battlefield, the Marines were getting pummeled like punching bags. The captain's brother was stuck in ice, and he wondered if this was some new military strategy. This guy had nerves of steel because he shot the ice to make the guy fall 2 centimeters off, and his brother's brain would have been splattered everywhere. One Marine was hanging by a thread when he spotted Mihawk laying waste to everyone. And remember when Mihawk was at the bar arguing with his buddies about who the strongest swordsman in the world was? The guy with the big nose said it was definitely Hawkeye because he'd seen him fight up close. The bearded dude claimed it was Vista, the flowery sword, but the little guy was the most sensible, saying the strongest swordsman in the world was Roronoa Zoro. The big-nosed one started laughing, saying Zoro was already pushing up daisies. Meanwhile, the man himself was sipping some good liquor, listening to everything from right behind them. At the library, 2 kids were reading a comic saying someone bit the dust, but this goth bell-loving fan kicked them out, telling them if they wanted to read, they had to pay. The magazine was talking about Brazil's most beloved robot, Frankie, and how he mysteriously disappeared 2 years ago. Remember, they're in the time skip era, so all the Straw Hats isolated themselves from the world for individual training, and the whole world thought they were goners. Reporters went to Water 7 to ask about Frankie. Polly told them to ask Iceberg, but his secretary said they needed an appointment. They had nothing left to do but show the photo of Frankie that would shock the world. The glorious man was getting his well-deserved spotlight, but the goth chick slammed the magazine shut and asked who'd buy that garbage, and this cute girl in the background agreed with her. Nami's fan was cruising on her flying scooter, and I won't lie, I'd totally ride a flying bubble like that. The girl was smarter than she looked and had cracked the code of the 3 days and 2 years message Captain Luffy sent through the newspaper. She knew it was all to trick the Marines. The key was how many times the bell rang, signaling the reunion would be on Cucumber Breeding Day, which, conveniently, was today. So she raced off excited because she wanted to meet the Straw Hats and deliver her letter to Nami. Now that's what I call a true fan, but she was shocked to see the street packed and decided to go to Plan B. But before she could do anything, she got run over by 2 government agents carrying a fox. Thrown into the crowd, she was almost trampled, and Brooke's fans started roasting her, saying she needed more milk to boost her bones. But out of nowhere, they got hit by Perona's ghosts and fell into a deep depression. The ghost girl wanted to know if her man had already arrived at the ship. In the bar, the gang restarted the debate on who was the world's strongest swordsman. The bald guy swears Zoro is still alive and training somewhere to get even stronger, but the long-nosed dude starts imitating Zoro, wondering why he even holds a sword in his mouth. Behind them, a guy was about to erupt in anger. They called him Mosshead and took a punch right to the face to smarten up. Over at the Marine HQ, a superior officer handed over a crucial letter that could save Sabati. The captain joked about what would happen if he accidentally dropped the letter, but got a deadly stare, so he quickly left. This guy tried to mess with a monster who once held a massive ice block that nearly crushed a Marine ship during the War of the Greats. This was the benevolent king of the waves, also known as the Demon. But appearances deceive because this guy was actually Chopper's #1 fan. He was even tearing up because he couldn't compliment a pirate. But Chopper was just too cute and he couldn't hold it in. There's no way he could ever arrest the little guy. Suddenly, he gets a call and goes back into serious mode. His boss asks what happened to the code for activating the new anti-pirate weapon, and he replies that he just sent a man to deliver the letter. Then he goes right back to wondering where little Chopper was. Meanwhile, Chopper was in the library nearly launching fireworks out of his ears after seeing Frankie's magazine, but he put it back, left, and the girl realized no one was going to buy that junk. Nami's fangirl came running, finally escaping that mess, but she bumped into the captain and hid, thinking she was about to get arrested for some reason. In the chaos, she dropped her letter meant for Nami, and the guy accidentally picked it up, thinking it was his important letter, which means that super important letter that was supposed to save the world was now a note calling Nami beautiful, perfect, and gorgeous. The girl tried to chase after him but was trampled by a random thug who stepped on her hand. On top of that, the dude was from the Marines and told her to get out of his way, saying her place was in the slums. To make matters worse, he stepped on her map, completely ruining her day. As she gathered her stuff, Usopp appeared, handing back the paper she had dropped. She freaked out, explaining that her day was terrible because a Marine had taken her letter, and God Usopp told her the guy with the letter had just walked into that bar full of junkies, which made her freeze in fear. But Usopp taught her a secret phrase: "I'm waiting for someone, just water for now." She said it, but the old lady just told her to get lost. The drunks were still arguing over the best swordsman, and one of them said it was Whitebeard. But that guy must have been smoking too much because Edward isn't even a swordsman. The long-nosed guy started insisting that Mihawk was the strongest, but nobody believed he had actually seen Mihawk up close. The captain chimed in, saying they knew nothing because the strongest was Akainu. Everyone almost lost their minds after hearing that nonsense. The bald guy turned to the dude next to him, asking if he didn't think Zoro was the best, and that dude just so happened to be Sanji, asking how he dared to talk about Mosshead without mentioning Black Leg. Everyone in the bar burst into laughter, saying that guy's bounty was even lower than Zoro's, and they got punched in the face again to get a grip. Meanwhile, Nami's fangirl took the chance to sneak under the table and grab the letter, but instead she accidentally grabbed the Marine's secret password. Just when she was trying to swap it back, the captain's brother showed up to ask why he wasn't working. The drunks went on to ask who he thought was the strongest swordsman. The captain, drunk out of his mind, said it was Luffy, the Straw Hat, but the big bro got furious, demanding to know if they supported pirates, and the long-haired guy snapped, saying this is why his brother can't get promoted like him. The girl was fuming because he always said that, and the big brother just let him say whatever he wanted, all because he had the higher rank. But deep down, he couldn't stand his brother, who always teased him while winning at life. But now, something is about to happen, my friend. Something that will make him regret every word he said, because during the War of the Great Ones, he was barely holding on. His leg was stuck under a massive boulder that had crushed him, but out of nowhere, a marine ship came flying and shook the ground like crazy. By pure luck, he managed to free himself and crawl out from under that huge thing. But some Marines weren't so lucky. Suddenly, his brother began shouting, asking where he was. Then, out of nowhere, someone fired a barrage of lasers, destroying everything around them. He thought about saving his brother, the captain, but remembered his broken leg and decided it wasn't worth the risk. That is, until he heard Luffy giving everything he had to save Ace, and he remembered when his brother gave him a better sling because his kept breaking. When the captain finally found him, he yelled at him to run, but instead he cracked his legs back into place and sprinted to save him. A Marine said that if Gold D. Roger hadn't started the Great Pirate Era, or if Ace the Flame Fist hadn't been captured, if they hadn't been trapped under that giant's foot, or if he hadn't heard that kid's voice, any one of those things happening differently could have changed his whole life. He asked if, when he survives, will he make a difference in someone's life like that kid did. He said that his brother is only alive thanks to the Straw Hat, but Luffy lost his brother Ace right in front of him and hasn't been seen since. Out of nowhere, the Marine radio cracked, announcing that they found the Straw Hat crew. They said they were going to meet at Pier 46, and the girl's eyes lit up, saying Nami was going to be there. She climbed up a post, shouting at the top of her lungs, asking where Nami was. Marines started fighting imposters who were clearly not the Straw Hat crew, and definitely not Nami, because that imposter was way too chubby. She started to panic, realizing the post was about to collapse, and she was about to become a pancake. Meanwhile, the girl in the library was having a meltdown because she missed out on tickets for Soul King's final concert, and while she was freaking out over the concert, the kids snuck past her and started reading Frankie's magazine without paying. The Nami fan ran after them, cursing those little brats, and almost got blown up by a pacifista chasing the pirates. But then, out of nowhere, the real Luffy showed up and nailed the pacifista in the face with a jet pistol. The Marine said that he looked way too healthy. Back at Marine HQ, they couldn't believe the Straw Hat took out the pacifista with just one punch. They ordered the lieutenant to use that weapon, but he hesitated, knowing it was toxic and would destroy the environment. But the boss didn't care and ordered him to do whatever it took to destroy the Straw Hat crew's ship. The lieutenant shed tears like a waterfall, knowing it was Chopper's ship. Meanwhile, the kids rushed to tell the girl that she could see Soul King live, since the Straw Hat crew had gathered at Pier 42, and they were going to take her there to watch. A bunch of thugs tried to grab the girl, but they were swiftly handled by the older brother. She was about to run because he was the son of the vegetable vendor. He told told her to leave because it was too dangerous here. A soldier came running, saying they couldn't move forward because Rayleigh, the Dark King, was there. They had to take a detour which would take 30 minutes to reach Pier 42. The brat tried to make a deal, saying she could reach the Straw Hat crew in 10 minutes, but her brother started chasing her, saying he was taking her home once and for all. The Marines were busy trying to arrest the guys who weren't even pirates, but they bolted out of there. Suddenly, a giant praying mantis showed up, ready to turn everyone into minced meat. The two siblings were being chased by giant bugs and ran as fast as they could. They squeezed through a cat door at the last second and hid in a store. The girl asked what he did to get those giant bugs after them, and she demanded he let her see Nami before she leaves. But he said it was his duty to protect civilians from dangerous pirates. She argued that Nami wasn't dangerous because she changed her life. The girl didn't have devil fruit powers, and she wasn't as muscular as him. She felt like she'd never be free in a world where only power matters. But Nami was the only one who made her believe that she too could live out great adventures. So the guy said he couldn't let her see Nami up close, but from a distance, that would be okay. He decided to share the shortcut with the Marines and work on capturing the Straw Hat. The girl said they were stuck in that shop, but there was a key to the back door that could save them both. Meanwhile, the crowd was singing Brooke's songs when they spotted a giant bird in the sky. The two siblings ran full speed, and the girl thanked her brother because they were going to make it in time, but he reminded her that she wasn't going to meet Nami in person. She says the guy seems a bit different and asks if it's because of the war. Just as he was about to say it was thanks to the Straw Hats, Perona's ghost popped up, smacking him in the mouth and making him all depressed. The girl, being no fool, quickly made her exit to find Nami. She ran so fast that she finally spotted the Straw Hats' ship, but that jerk showed up again, ruining her joy. He claimed he had caught an intruder, and his boss told him to keep an eye on her. It was the perfect job for a spoiled brat like him, but he boasted that he'd become famous after sinking the Straw Hats' ship with the new weapon. She begged him not to do it because Nami would get blasted to pieces, but that scumbag smashed her face into the ground like she was some outlaw, saying the poor have no right to speak. Ah, the famous Justice of the Marines. The girl started crying, realizing she wouldn't be able to meet them. She'd only get to watch their ship sink right in front of her. She couldn't even deliver a simple letter. Out of nowhere, the girl from the library came flying in, drop-kicking that jerk in the face. She and the kids beat that scumbag to a pulp just to get a chance to see Soul King's performance. The girl took advantage of the chaos, snatching her letter from his bag while a book fell right onto the captain's face. They started chasing her, saying she had the secret code, but she totally schooled them even though she was only 15. Suddenly, Chopper's fan landed on the ship, all fired up, but she slipped right under his legs. She started reading the letter she wrote, explaining that Nami was her beacon of hope. She said that even if she gets hurt and ignored, she'll do whatever it takes to be free like Nami. She begged her to keep living those incredible adventures. In the end, she ripped the letter, sending the Marines into a panic, but she still managed to catch a glimpse of the Straw Hats sailing off into the distance with her beloved Nami smiling brightly. By that point, the Straw Hats ship was too far to be attacked. The jerk asked what she was thinking, but the captain just told him to chill out, saying she was just a kid. But he snapped at the long-haired dude, telling him to shut up because she destroyed confidential material. He added that she could even be executed for that crime, but she asked what he was talking about. She only ripped up her letter, which had been stolen, a fan letter to someone very important. The episode wraps up with a bunch of golden moments: Perona helping Zoro after he got lost, Nami making Usopp carry all the shopping, Chopper walking around with the fake Straw Hats, thinking they were the real deal, and Robin as sharp as ever. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without the Straw Hats sailing off together to their next adventure. Nami's fangirl was over the moon, dreaming that one day she too would set out on an amazing adventure. Next week, we're getting the legendary Fishman Island remake. The Straw Hats will reunite at the Sabati archipelago after 2 years. But this time, the animation is going to be 1,000 times better, because the last one, well, only God knows. Luffy's going to run into Hancock and use his new Conqueror's Haki to knock the fake Straw Hats out cold. The title of the next episode is A New Beginning, The Reunion of the Straw Hats. If you like this video, go ahead and check out the next one showing up on your screen now. Thanks, and see you later.